Hi, this is Vicki with the blog aboutordinarywomen.com. I'm doing a series of practical clay projects for the board craft server, and this is one of the ones I have chosen to do, which is a really neat candle kind of holder. It's great for container candles. You get these plain, boring container candles. Well, this is a way to spruce them up a little bit. They're pretty sturdy. They glow beautiful. I've got a couple of glow pictures I can show you. They're pretty fast. They're pretty easy. So let's get those supplies together and we'll get started. The supplies for this project are some polymer clay. I'm using black, rhino gray, burnt umber, Spanish olive, and jungle. You're going to need something to roll the black flat. I'm going to be using a pasta machine, but you can use an acrylic roller with some index cards or something like that set side by side to keep your thickness right. You're going to need some type of blade, X-Acto knife, clay blade, anything like that will work. You're going to need a little bit of aluminum foil. I am going to be rolling out snakes, but I'm also going to be using this mold. You're going to need something to bake your clay on. I am just going to be baking on my little 6x6 tile here. I always bake on top of parchment paper. Good things to have on hand are some liquid polymer clay. And I will also be using some basic black acrylic paint and a paintbrush. You're going to need something to build your candle holder around. I am using a 3x4 candle mold itself. Depending on the size, it's going to be what you're going to put in it. This will fit an 8-ounce jelly jar nicely. If you're going to be doing a pillar candle, I would make it a little bit bigger because a 3-inch pillar candle will fit in here because it came out of here. But you want a little bit of airflow around it, so I would do it like a 4-inch. You can also use some straight-sided glass containers to make this. The options are pretty much endless. Pringles can works too, depending on the size of the candle you're going to put in. So I'm going to get my clay conditioned and we'll get started. Okay, we have all of our clay conditioned. Now we're going to get everything prepped and ready. First thing we're going to do is take our black, make a flat sheet. This is about 1/8 of an inch thick. I think it's 2.5 centimeters. I mean, not centimeters, millimeters. You want it just big enough to cover the bottom of your thing. Take your clay. We're going to be mixing 2 of the colors at a time. These 2 colors are going to be mixed and these 2 colors are going to be mixed, but they're not going to be fully mixed. We're going to do the chop and toss method. I want lighter colors in with the darker colors. You want to mix so you got hints of all the colors in here, and it gives you like a 3rd color. That's all the further you want to mix it. You don't want to totally blend this. We're going to do the same thing with the green. We don't want it totally blended. Just squish them together, string them out, roll them. This one I'm going to chop more here because I want to make it more of a variegated than I did the other one. Because I want these to be totally 2 different colors. And I want the colors to be very distinct. see how the colors are very distinct? That's what I want. Just make sure you press all the air out of them and squish them together well. Set that aside. Okay, we're going to prep our bottom for our candle holder. You want it thick enough to where it can, if somebody picks up your holder, that it doesn't break apart. And the black is pretty much going to be hidden. What little bit we can see of it. Set that aside for now. We need to prep our can. This makes it so it's easier to pull it out of the clay. Smooth it as much as you can. It will leave a textured look inside, which is no big deal. Squish it down around the bottom. Make sure it's level. Go ahead and set it back on your piece. We're going to actually be building this right on top of our baking surface. Now it's time to do some molds. The molds are pretty easy. They seem a little complicated, but I found that if you just take a little bit, roll it into a snake, you can press them in there really well. And you don't have too much you have to cut off, if any at all. Okay, I've got all my pieces molded out for the twig part of this. Now we're going to start assembling it. We will do the leaves next. What I like to do is, because we're going to cover this up. These snakes are going to cover up here and they're going to cover up the top. So I go ahead and put on my limbs first, because I need to know where I need to cover up and decide where I want my limbs. If I want my limbs really tall or long or short. I'll stick a little one in here. And you do want the clay touching a bit, not quite that much. Back over there, and then we're going to take our snakes. Let's see if I can get this out a little bit so you can see it better. Ignore my mess around here because it is a big mess. We're going to take our bottom snake. Let me do this side. and we're just going to come around. Stretch it in. Adhere them together really well. Now move your top down to where it's about the same amount coming from the top. And you do want your other pieces to stick to it a little bit, because that's what it's going to be doing. If you need to up this and move it down a little bit, do so. To get it down a little bit further, you want all the clay pieces, the big ones, to be touching. You want as much clay touching as possible. We'll be doing more when we add the leaves. Okay, stand back and look at your piece and see where you want to add some twigs. If you want to adjust things around to where they go down a little further, you want to add some twigs, just roll out some little snakes. Make sure it's all adhered well. Save a little bit of your brown for when you want to add some snakes for your leaves. Now we're going to just basically do the same thing with the leaves that we did with the stems. We're just going to press them in here and cut out a bunch of leaves. I'll be back when I'm ready for that. Have you ever wanted to get small or narrow leaves using a mold like this? It's not as hard as you think it is. Take a little bit of your clay, roll it into a ball, and then make a teardrop out of it. Place it in the top part of the mold that you want it to go in. Make it go down as far as you want it. And then use your blade and come back up. And you make a little tiny flower. Not flower, a little tiny leaf. How to make a long, narrow leaf is you get it into a ball, you get it into a teardrop shape, but you go ahead and squeeze down to where you've got more of a really long teardrop. Place the tip there, and then just kind of squeeze down as far as you want it to go. Take your blade, come back up it, and you've got a long, narrow leaf. I'm almost done with these, but I will be back when I am totally finished. Okay, you can see I got a bunch of little leaves here. Now it's time to start finishing assembling this. Texturing, you can do it now, or you can do it later. I like to do a little bit of both. I like to take my texturing and just go around here. It gives it more of a wood look. Just texture all the way around. Do it along the top also. Just take some foil. Now I will add more textures, like if I get a lot of fingerprints, say on my leaves, I'll texture them up a little bit. Just give it a little bit of texture. And you can even go up your limbs a little bit, because if you don't say didn't really like the texture that came out of the mold, or you got a lot of fingerprints, or you pressed too hard, just add a little bit of texture all the way around. And I will actually texture it more after I'm done. Okay, now hopefully you guys can see this. You need to start adding pieces. You notice I also had a few snakes here. I've also got some more brown that I can make snakes. Because I'm going to make little limbs off of some of these. Some of these bigger leaves I'm going to put in here, to where they kind of go up and around. Add a small leaf to it. Press it down. If you need to go ahead and press your little bit of your leaf down, that's fine. The only thing you want to make sure is that nothing is sitting by itself, because when you pull this can out, it's going to fall right off. Make sure nothing is sitting by itself. Stick this up in here. So I'm going to put some small leaves here. Texture my little. Make sure it's touching the unit before it, the clay up here. You might even want to take a little bit of a blending tool and blend it up a little bit so it stays attached. And I'm going to take some of my little smaller leaves. Now it's just about doing what's pleasing to you. When you get all the leaves and your little limbs and everything placed where you can retexture a little bit. Sometimes it helps, makes it looks a little bit better. Just retexture all the way around. You got any fingerprints in here, just give it a little bit of a texture. Just pounce a little bit in there. You can squish it more, you can squish it less. It's up to you and it's your taste. You just, like I said, you don't want any pieces hanging out by themselves because they will come off. So you want to keep everything attached. Like I said, this is attached to here, the leaves are touching, it's attached to this little piece is attached to that piece. Just make sure everything's attached. If you have any concerns about something not being attached well, that's where the liquid polymer clay can come in. Just take a little bit of dab and place it where you're concerned about there not being enough adhesion. Take a little bit in there. Take a toothpick or a needle tool, spread it out a little bit. Don't worry about the shininess, it'll happen later. This will cause it to adhere better. Like I said, I'll put a little bit on this because I didn't like the way it's set there. Just move it around a little bit so it adheres really well. I'm going to bake this after I'm finished according to the package instructions. I'm going to bake this though for about an hour. I want this to be really strong, but I will also tint this since I am using liquid polymer clay, and it's a translucent, and I will tint this, and it's just basically taking a piece of paper and just tinting over it. That's all you do when you put it in the oven. Foil works, paper works. Don't let it touch your items, but then you're done. I'll be back when I'm finished and we're all baked. Okay, in the interest of full disclosure here, I was not totally happy with the bottom. Normally I'm not doing this on camera, so it's easier for me to cut around and I make sure I get my bottom the right size. That didn't happen, but it's like a lot of things. Things don't happen. So what I did was I just rolled out a snake and put it around there, placed it back down, and then pressed down. Which I'm not pressing on any of the clay, but right where I laid the snake at, so everything adheres well. Now I'm going to bake it. We are out of the oven. You can take this out now and do some other stuff to it if you want, or you can do it on here. I'm going to do it on here. That way I don't make quite big of a mess. I'm basically just doing, excuse the mess right here because I'm getting my wet ones. I'm just going to do an antiquing effect, or basically I'm just bringing out the detailing. So I'm just going to put some paint on and then wipe it off. Brings all the detail out so it really shows up. And then, but take this out of here, it's really easy. Just pull your aluminum foil up. You can even kind of rip it off a little bit so you can get a hold of your can. And then just pull your can out. Takes a little bit of force. I mean, you want to be careful. You don't want to, you know, I got it around there pretty tight. See, there, comes out pretty easy. I'm going to leave my foil in there because I'm going to use my foil as kind of a backdrop so I don't make a total mess of my hands. And when you're done after that, You can finish painting it. You can gloss it, not gloss it. I'm going to put Renaissance wax on mine because I don't want that shiny, glossy look. But you can gloss it. You can use your own creativity. You can add flowers to this, birdies to this. You can change the design. This is just one way to do it to where you can kind of get an open container. And I'm going to take some pictures of this in the dark and hopefully be able to post them with a candle inside so you guys can see that. But we're pretty much done at this point. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel. Come check me out at aboutordinarywomen.com. Be creative, and I will see you guys in the next video.